Queen Zara stood on the highest platform of the crystal tower, watching the last of the communication arrays flicker and die. The massive structures that had once reached toward the stars like silver fingers now stood dark and silent. 3 solar cycles had passed since the cosmic energy storm began, and her planet was dying. The wind carried a strange metallic taste that made her people cough. The air itself was changing, becoming thinner and harder to breathe. Below her, the great city of New Celestia spread out like a jewel, but even from this height, she could see the dimming lights in the residential sectors. Power was being redirected to the life support systems, but it was not enough. "Your Majesty," came a voice behind her. Queen Zara turned to see Commander Vale approaching, his usually perfect uniform showing signs of the long days he had been working. His face was tired, but his eyes still held determination. "Report, Commander," the Queen said, though she already feared what he would tell her. "The atmospheric processors in sectors 7 through 12 have shut down completely. Our engineers estimate we have perhaps 20 rotations before the oxygen levels become dangerous." Commander Vale paused, choosing his words carefully. "The people are beginning to ask questions." Queen Zara nodded slowly. Her people had been the rulers of star systems for thousands of years. They had built wonders that other civilizations could only dream of. Their technology could move planets and create new suns. But now, facing this strange storm that seemed to eat energy itself, all their great knowledge felt useless. "What word from the Architect Alliance?" she asked. "Nothing, Your Majesty. Our last transmission was sent 48 hours ago." No response. "And the Synthesis Collective?" "Also silent." The Queen felt a cold weight in her chest. The Architect Alliance had technology that could reshape reality itself. The Synthesis Collective had minds so advanced they could think in dimensions her people could not even imagine. If they would not help, or could not help, then perhaps there truly was no solution. "Your Majesty," Commander Vale continued, "there is something else. Tech Specialist Finn has been monitoring all communication channels. He reports that the entire galactic network has gone quiet. Not just to us, but completely. No transmissions between any of the major civilizations." Queen Zara turned back to look at the dying arrays. "They have all given up," she said quietly. "They believe this storm cannot be stopped." She thought of her people in the city below. Families gathering around their children, trying to keep them calm. Scientists working desperately in their laboratories, searching for answers that seemed to not exist. Soldiers maintaining order even as they wondered if there was any point. "Commander, call a meeting of the Royal Council. Immediately." An hour later, Queen Zara sat at the head of the great crystal table in the council chamber. Around her were the brightest minds of her kingdom, scientists, engineers, military leaders, and advisors who had guided her through countless challenges. But now, their faces showed only worry and confusion. "The situation is clear," announced Chief Scientist Nora, a tall woman whose blue hair had turned white with stress over the past few days. "The cosmic energy storm is unlike anything in our records. It seems to consume all forms of energy it touches, growing stronger as it feeds. Our attempts to create barriers have failed because the storm simply absorbs the power from our shields." "What about evacuation?" asked General Rex, the leader of her space forces. "Our ships could carry perhaps 10,000 people to the outer colonies. And leave 40 million behind." Queen Zara's voice was sharp. "That is not acceptable." "Your Majesty," said Elder Lin, the oldest member of the council, "perhaps it is time to consider that some problems cannot be solved. Our civilization has lasted for millennia. That is more than most." The room fell silent. Queen Zara looked around the table at these people she had trusted for so long. She could see that many of them were beginning to accept defeat. "No," she said firmly. "I will not abandon our people. There must be something we have not tried." Tech Specialist Finn, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, cleared his throat. "Your Majesty, if I may speak." Queen Zara nodded. Finn was young for his position, but his understanding of communication systems was beyond compare. I have been studying the galactic communication patterns for the past 2 cycles. You are correct that the major civilizations have gone silent. But I have detected some transmissions from the Outer Rim territories. Species that we consider primitive. Primitive species. Chief Scientist Nora looked puzzled. What could they possibly know that we do not? Perhaps that is the wrong question, Finn said carefully. Perhaps we should ask what they might try that we would not. General Rex laughed, but there was no humor in it. You suggest we ask for help from beings who have barely learned to travel between stars? Species that still use chemical fuels and metal tools. Queen Zara held up her hand for silence. Continue, Finn. Your Majesty, I have been thinking about the nature of this storm. It consumes energy, yes, but what if the solution is not about using more energy? What if it requires a different approach entirely? Elder Lin shook her head. The storm is a cosmic phenomenon. Only advanced technology could possibly affect it. But has our advanced technology worked? Finn asked gently. Your Majesty, with your permission, I would like to send distress signals to some of these Outer Rim species. What is the harm in asking? The room erupted in arguments. Some council members thought the idea was foolish and beneath their dignity. Others worried that contact with primitive species might somehow make the situation worse. Chief Scientist Nora argued that no species without quantum manipulation technology could possibly understand the problem. Queen Zara listened to the debate for several minutes, then stood. The room immediately fell quiet. How long do we have, Commander Vale? 18 rotations, Your Majesty. Perhaps 20 if we reduce life support in the outer districts. And how long would it take for help to arrive from the nearest advanced civilization? If they left immediately upon receiving our message, 12 rotations at minimum. But they are not responding to our messages. No, Your Majesty. Queen Zara walked to the great window that looked out over her city. The lights were dimmer now, and she could see people moving more slowly in the streets. Her people were trying to conserve energy, to make the air last as long as possible. Finn, she said without turning around, which primitive species are within range? Several, Your Majesty. The Corvan Republic, who have just developed faster-than-light travel. The Zilani Federation, who are skilled at working with biological systems. And there is a small species called humans from a planet they call Earth. They are very new to space travel, but their transmissions show they are very curious and willing to help others. How long would it take for a message to reach them? The humans are closest, Your Majesty. A signal could reach them in 6 hours, and if they responded immediately, they could be here in 8 rotations. General Rex stood up angrily. Your Majesty, this is madness. We are talking about beings who probably do not even understand quantum physics. How could they possibly help us? Queen Zara turned to face her council. General, how many of our quantum physicists have found a solution to this storm? That is not the point, Your Majesty. We have simply not had enough time to dash. We have had 3 cycles, General. 3 cycles of our best minds working on this problem with the most advanced tools in the galaxy. And we are 18 rotations from complete atmospheric failure. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each council member. I am not asking these primitive species to solve our problem. I am asking them to try something different. Something we might not have thought of. If they fail, we are no worse off than we are now. Chief Scientist Nora raised her hand. Your Majesty, even if we send the signal, what if no one responds? What if they are too afraid to come to our aid? Many primitive species fear advanced civilizations. Then we will have lost nothing but a few hours, Queen Zara replied. But if they do respond, if they do come, then perhaps we might learn something new. Elder Lin spoke up. And what of our reputation? What will other civilizations think if they learn we begged for help from primitive beings? Queen Zara looked at him steadily. Elder Lin, what will our reputation matter if we are all dead? The room fell silent again. Queen Zara could see that her council was struggling with the idea, but she also saw that they were running out of alternatives. Commander Vale, she said, what is your opinion? The commander stood and looked around the room. Your Majesty, I have served you for 20 years. In that time, I have learned that sometimes the most unexpected solutions come from the most unexpected places. If these primitive species have survived on their worlds, they must have learned something about solving problems with limited resources. Perhaps that knowledge might be useful. Queen Zara nodded. Finn, prepare messages to all 3 species. Make our situation clear, but do not demand help. Ask for it. Explain that we are willing to share whatever knowledge we can in return. Your Majesty, General Rex said, making one last attempt, surely we should try to contact the Eternal Council or the Void Walkers. They are ancient civilizations with knowledge far beyond even ours. We tried, General. They did not respond. Perhaps they have faced this storm before and know it cannot be defeated. Perhaps they have decided that the cost of helping us is too high. Or perhaps they are facing the same problem on their own worlds. Queen Zara moved toward the door. But these younger species, these primitive peoples, they may not know that something is impossible. Sometimes ignorance can be a strength. As the council members filed out of the chamber, Finn approached the Queen. Your Majesty, what should I emphasize in the messages? Queen Zara thought for a moment. Tell them the truth, Finn. Tell them that we are dying, that we have tried everything we know, and that we need help. Do not try to make ourselves seem more important than we are. Simply ask for aid from one living being to another. Finn nodded and hurried toward the communication center. Queen Zara remained in the chamber for a few minutes, looking out at her city again. The light seemed dimmer still. Later that evening, she stood once again on the platform of the Crystal Tower. The air was definitely thinner now, and she could see her breath in the growing cold. Below her, the city was quieter than usual. People were staying indoors, conserving energy and oxygen. Commander Vale joined her on the platform. The messages have been sent, Your Majesty. All 3 species? Yes. Finn reports that the signals should reach the humans in approximately 5 hours, the Corvan Republic in 7 hours, and the Zalani Federation in 8 hours. Queen Zara nodded. And now we wait. Your Majesty, may I ask you something? Of course, Commander. Do you truly believe these primitive species can help us? Or are we simply refusing to accept that this is the end? Queen Zara was quiet for a long time. Commander, in all our history, have we ever asked for help from anyone? Have we ever admitted that we did not have the answer to a problem? No, Your Majesty. We have always been the ones others came to for help. Perhaps that was our mistake. Perhaps the universe has more to teach us than we thought. She looked up at the stars, many of which seemed dimmer through the storm-affected atmosphere. If we survive this, Commander, I think we will have learned something very important about the value of asking for help. As the night deepened and the air grew thinner, Queen Zara made a silent promise to her people. She would not give up. Somewhere in the galaxy, someone might have an answer they had not thought of. Someone might care enough to try. All they had to do was wait for a response, and hope that help would come from the most unexpected places. Queen Zara had not slept in 36 hours. She stood in the communication center, watching tech specialist Finn monitor the incoming signal channels. The air in the room felt thick and stale, and each breath required more effort than the last. Through the great windows, she could see that the city lights had dimmed further during the night. Your Majesty, Commander Vale entered the chamber, his voice showing the strain of the past few days. The atmospheric readings from Sector 15 show critical levels. We may need to begin evacuating the outer districts. Before Queen Zara could respond, Finn suddenly sat up straighter at his console. Your Majesty, I am receiving a response signal. The room fell silent except for the hum of the life support systems. Queen Zara moved quickly to Finn's station. Which civilization is responding? She asked. Finn studied his readings carefully. The signal is coming from the direction of Earth, Your Majesty. The humans are responding. What do they say? Finn activated the translation protocols. A moment later, a voice filled the chamber. It was different from what Queen Zara had expected. Instead of the formal, complex language of advanced civilizations, the voice was simple and direct. This is Captain Ben Rodriguez of the Earth vessel Harmony. We received your distress call. We are loading supplies and will depart for your location immediately. Our estimated travel time is 7 rotations. Please hold on. Help is coming. The message was short, but Queen Zara felt something she had not experienced in days: hope. Send a response, Finn. Thank them and provide detailed coordinates to our location. Already done, Your Majesty. Commander Vale looked puzzled. That was very direct communication. No formal diplomatic protocols, no questions about compensation or alliance agreements. Perhaps, Queen Zara said quietly, that is exactly what we need right now. Over the next 6 rotations, the situation on the planet continued to worsen. The atmospheric processors in 3 more sectors failed completely, and people were being moved to emergency shelters in the central districts. The Royal Council met twice daily, but they had little to report except declining conditions. On the 7th rotation, Finn detected an approaching vessel on the edge of their system. Your Majesty, the human ship has arrived. They are requesting permission to dock at the main orbital platform. Queen Zara straightened her formal robes. Despite the crisis, she wanted to receive these potential saviors with proper dignity. Grant them permission. Commander Vale, assemble an honor guard. We will meet them in the main reception hall. An hour later, Queen Zara waited in the great reception hall with her council and senior officers. The hall was one of their most impressive spaces, with crystal walls that showed the beauty of their dying world and floating light displays that demonstrated their technological achievements. The doors opened, and the human delegation entered. Queen Zara had expected to see beings similar to themselves, perhaps wearing advanced environmental suits or carrying sophisticated equipment. Instead, she saw 3 humans in simple clothing who looked around the reception hall with open curiosity and wonder. The leader stepped forward and bowed respectfully. He was a man of medium height with brown skin and kind eyes that seemed to take in everything around him. Your Majesty, I am Captain Ben Rodriguez. This is Dr. Rita Chen, our engineer, and Dr. Sam Park, our environmental specialist. We came as quickly as we could. Queen Zara studied them carefully. Dr. Chen was a small woman with black hair who carried a simple bag of tools. Dr. Park was a tall man who seemed more interested in looking out the windows at the planet than at the impressive technology around them. Captain Rodriguez, we are grateful that you responded to our call. However, I must ask, do your people understand the nature of our crisis? This is a cosmic energy storm of unprecedented power. Our most advanced scientists have been unable to find a solution. Captain Rodriguez nodded seriously. Dr. Park, would you explain what we understand about your situation? Dr. Park stepped forward. Unlike the formal presentations Queen Zara was used to from her own scientists, he spoke in simple, clear language. Your Majesty, based on your transmissions, your planet is being affected by a cosmic energy storm that is interfering with your atmospheric systems. Your people are having trouble breathing, and your technology cannot maintain the air quality you need to survive. That is correct, Queen Zara said, though she was surprised by how simply he had described their complex problem. We have dealt with similar problems on Earth, Dr. Park continued. Not cosmic storms exactly, but situations where the air became dangerous to breathe. We have learned some techniques that might help. Chief Scientist Nora stepped forward. Dr. Park, with respect, this is not a simple atmospheric problem. This is a cosmic phenomenon that operates on quantum levels beyond the understanding of most civilizations. What techniques could your people possibly have that we have not tried? Dr. Park smiled, and Queen Zara was surprised to see that he did not seem offended by the question. Dr. Nora, you are absolutely right that we do not understand quantum physics the way you do. But sometimes a different approach can be helpful. Would you mind if we looked at your data and observed the storm's effects firsthand? General Rex spoke up. Dr. Park, our scientists have been studying this storm for days with the most advanced instruments in the galaxy. What could you possibly observe that they have not? Maybe nothing, Dr. Park admitted. But we would like to try. Sometimes fresh eyes can notice things that people close to a problem might miss. Queen Zara looked at her council. She could see that most of them thought these humans were naive, but there was something about their quiet confidence that intrigued her. Very well. Chief Scientist Nora, please provide our guests with all the data they request. Commander Vale, give them access to any areas they wish to observe. For the next several hours, the humans studied the information about the cosmic storm. Queen Zara watched them work, and she noticed several things that surprised her. First, they asked questions that seemed almost childish to her advanced scientists. Dr. Park wanted to know about weather patterns before the storm arrived. Dr. Chen asked about the planet's normal atmospheric composition and how people felt when the air began to change. Captain Rodriguez inquired about the daily routines of ordinary citizens and how those routines had changed. Second, they spent much more time observing than analyzing. While celestial scientists worked with complex mathematical models and quantum calculations, the humans stood on observation platforms and simply watched the storm's effects. Dr. Park spent an entire hour watching how the wind moved through the city streets. Third, they seemed genuinely interested in the well-being of the people. During a tour of the emergency shelters, Dr. Chen sat with families and asked about their experiences. She wanted to know how the children were coping and whether elderly people were having more difficulty breathing. That evening, Queen Zara invited the humans to dine with her private council. She was curious about these beings who approached problems so differently. Captain Rodriguez, she said as they shared a simple meal, your people seem to study our crisis in a very different way than we do. Are you making progress? Captain Rodriguez exchanged glances with his team. Your Majesty, we think we understand what is happening, but our proposed solution might seem strange to you. Please explain. Dr. Park leaned forward. Your Majesty, this storm is indeed consuming energy, just as your scientists determined. But we think the problem is not that you need more power to fight it. The problem might be that you are feeding it too much. Chief Scientist Nora looked confused. Feeding it? We are trying to protect our atmospheric systems. Yes, Dr. Chen said gently, but every time you use energy to maintain those systems, the storm grows stronger. It is like trying to put out a fire by adding fuel. But if we do not maintain our atmospheric systems, our people will suffocate, Elder Lin protested. Not necessarily, Dr. Park said. On Earth, we have learned to work with natural atmospheric processes instead of fighting them. What if, instead of using energy to force your atmosphere to be what you want, you worked with what the storm is doing and guided it in a helpful direction? The council members looked at each other in confusion. Queen Zara could see that they did not understand what the humans were proposing. Dr. Park, she said carefully, could you explain this more simply? Dr. Park thought for a moment. Your Majesty, imagine you have a river flowing through your city. If you try to build walls to stop the river, it will eventually break through and flood everything. But if you build channels to guide the river where you want it to go, it becomes helpful instead of harmful. You are suggesting we guide the cosmic storm? General Rex sounded incredulous. Not exactly guide it, Dr. Chen said. More like work with it. Let it do what it wants to do, but create systems that turn its effects into something your people can breathe. Commander Vale leaned forward. How would such a thing be possible? Captain Rodriguez smiled. That is what we would like to show you tomorrow. We have some ideas, but we need to work with your people to test them. These ideas, Queen Zara asked, do they require advanced technology? Some of your existing technology, yes, Dr. Park said. But mostly they require understanding how natural systems work together. We call it biological engineering. Biological engineering? Chief Scientist Nora looked puzzled. You mean using living organisms to solve a cosmic energy problem? Living organisms are very good at adapting to changing conditions, Dr. Chen explained. They find ways to survive when the environment changes, instead of trying to force the environment to stay the same. Queen Zara was quiet for several minutes, thinking about what the humans had said. Around the table, her advisors looked skeptical, but she found herself intrigued by their approach. Captain Rodriguez, your people traveled 7 rotations to reach us, knowing only that we were in trouble. You did not ask for payment or demand treaties. Why did you come? Captain Rodriguez looked surprised by the question. Your Majesty, you asked for help. When someone needs help, you try to give it if you can. Even when that someone is a complete stranger from an advanced civilization that you had never met? Especially then, Dr. Park said quietly. When people are in trouble, differences in technology or culture do not matter very much. Queen Zara felt something stir in her chest that she had not felt since the crisis began, a sense that these beings genuinely cared about the survival of her people. Very well, she said. Tomorrow you will show us these biological engineering ideas. If they fail, we are no worse off than before. But if they succeed? She looked around at her council, seeing hope beginning to replace despair in their eyes. If they succeed, then perhaps we will learn that the greatest technology is not always the most complex. As the evening ended, Queen Zara stood once again on the Crystal Tower platform. But tonight, she was not alone. Dr. Park stood beside her, looking up at the stars through the storm-affected sky. Dr. Park, may I ask you something? Of course, Your Majesty. Do you truly believe your ideas will work? Dr. Park was quiet for a moment. Your Majesty, I believe that life finds a way to survive, even in impossible situations. Your people have survived for thousands of years because they learned to adapt and grow. This storm is just another challenge to adapt to. Queen Zara looked down at her city, where the lights were dim but still burning. And if your biological engineering fails? Then we try something else, Dr. Park said simply. We keep trying until we find an answer or run out of time. Queen Zara smiled for the first time in days. These humans might not have the most advanced technology in the galaxy, but they had something her people had forgotten in their time of crisis, the simple determination to keep trying, no matter what. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, for the first time since the storm began, Queen Zara believed that her people might actually survive. The next morning, Queen Zara stood in the main laboratory complex watching Dr. Rita Chen examine a sample of their planet's failing atmospheric processors. The small human engineer had dismantled one of their most sophisticated machines and was studying its components with simple tools that looked primitive compared to celestial technology. Your atmospheric processors are remarkable, Dr. Chen said, looking up from her work. They can manipulate matter at the molecular level and create perfect atmospheric conditions. The problem is that they require enormous amounts of energy to maintain those conditions. Chief Scientist Nora nodded. Yes, that energy consumption has never been a problem before. Our power generation systems could easily supply what was needed. But now the cosmic storm absorbs that energy and grows stronger, Dr. Sam Park added from across the room, where he was studying readings from the storm's effects on the upper atmosphere. The more energy you feed into fighting it, the more powerful it becomes. Dr. Chen stood up and walked to a large display showing the planet's atmospheric composition. What if, instead of trying to create perfect atmospheric conditions, we created adaptive conditions? Adaptive conditions? Queen Zara asked. Systems that change based on what the storm is doing, Captain Ben Rodriguez explained. Instead of fighting the storm's effects, we redirect them into something useful. General Rex looked skeptical. Dr. Chen, our people have very specific atmospheric requirements. We cannot simply change what we breathe. Dr. Chen smiled. You are absolutely right, General. We cannot change what you need to breathe. But we can change how we provide it. She activated a portable display device that projected a three-dimensional image into the air. The image showed what appeared to be a plant-like structure with complex branching systems. This is a biological atmospheric processor, Dr. Chen explained. It works like a living plant, taking in the energy from the cosmic storm and converting it into breathable atmosphere for your people. Elder Lin shook his head. A plant that can process cosmic energy? That seems impossible. Not a natural plant, Dr. Park clarified. A designed biological system using your existing technology combined with Earth-based biological principles. Think of it as a machine that grows and adapts instead of just running. Queen Zara studied the projection carefully. How would such a system work? Dr. Chen manipulated the display to show the internal structure of her proposed processor. The base would be built using your existing molecular manipulation technology. But instead of trying to maintain fixed conditions, it would be programmed to adapt continuously to changing energy levels. The biological component comes from Earth-based organisms that thrive in high-energy environments, Dr. Park added. We have bacteria and algae that actually absorb harmful radiation and convert it into oxygen and other useful compounds. Commander Vale looked interested despite his confusion. You are suggesting we combine our technology with Earth organisms? Exactly, Captain Rodriguez said. Your technology provides the structure and control systems. Our biological knowledge provides the adaptive capability. Chief Scientist Nora stepped closer to the projection. This is unlike anything we have ever attempted. How can we be certain it would work? Dr. Chen looked at her colleagues, then at Queen Zara. Your Majesty, we cannot be certain. But we can test it on a small scale first. What kind of test? Queen Zara asked. Dr. Park pulled out a small container from his bag. Inside was what appeared to be a glowing green substance. This is a sample of the biological component we brought from Earth. It has been modified to work with your atmospheric requirements. If we could build a small prototype processor, we could test whether it can actually convert storm energy into breathable air. How small? Commander Vale wanted to know. Small enough to fit in this room, Dr. Chen replied. If it works, we could build larger versions quickly using your manufacturing capabilities. Queen Zara looked around the room at her advisors. She could see doubt in their faces, but also hope. Time was running short, and they had no other options. Very well. Chief Scientist Nora, provide Dr. Chen with whatever materials and assistance she needs. How long would it take to build this prototype? With your technology, probably 6 hours, Dr. Chen estimated. And if the test is successful? We could have full-scale processors operational within 2 rotations, Dr. Park said. General Rex looked worried. Your Majesty, we only have 10 rotations of breathable air remaining in the emergency reserves. Then we will have to work quickly, Queen Zara decided. Begin immediately. The next 6 hours were unlike anything the celestial scientists had experienced. Instead of working with complex mathematical models and theoretical calculations, they found themselves building physical systems that seemed to grow and change as they worked. Dr. Chen directed the construction with patience and encouragement. When celestial engineers struggled with biological concepts, she explained them using simple analogies. When the biological components seemed to behave unpredictably, she showed them how to observe and adapt rather than trying to control every variable. Tech specialist Finn proved unexpectedly helpful. His understanding of communication systems translated well to understanding how biological and mechanical components could work together. He became fascinated with the way the system seemed to communicate with itself, adjusting automatically to changing conditions. Dr. Park worked with the atmospheric specialists, teaching them to think about air quality as a living system rather than a static requirement. Instead of maintaining exact chemical compositions, they learned to create systems that could adjust their output based on real-time needs. Captain Rodriguez coordinated the effort, making sure that human and celestial team members could work together effectively. Queen Zara noticed that he seemed to have a natural ability to help people understand each other, even when they came from completely different backgrounds. As the prototype neared completion, Queen Zara stood watching the work with Commander Vale. "Your Majesty," the commander said quietly, "these humans work very differently from our scientists." "How so?" "They seem to expect things to not work perfectly at first. When something fails, they adjust and try again instead of analyzing the failure extensively before proceeding." Queen Zara had noticed the same thing. When components did not fit together as planned, the humans simply modified their design. When the biological elements behaved differently than expected, they observed the new behavior and adapted their approach accordingly. "They treat problem-solving like a conversation," she said. "They listen to what the system is telling them and respond accordingly." Finally, Dr. Chen announced that the prototype was ready for testing. The device looked strange to celestial eyes, part familiar technology and part living organism. It pulsed gently with green light and seemed to respond to the energy fluctuations from the cosmic storm. "The test is simple," Dr. Chen explained to the gathered scientists and officials. "We will expose the processor to storm energy and measure what it produces." Dr. Park activated monitors that would track the atmospheric output. "If this works, we should see the processor taking in storm energy and converting it to oxygen, nitrogen, and other gases in the proper proportions for your people to breathe." Chief Scientist Nora checked her instruments. "Energy input from storm simulation is active." For several minutes, nothing seemed to happen. Then, gradually, the processor began to glow more brightly. The monitors showed increasing levels of atmospheric production. "It is working," Finn announced, excitement clear in his voice. "The processor is converting storm energy into breathable atmosphere at a rate of 300 units per hour. 300 units per hour, Elder Lin repeated, amazement in his voice. "That is enough to supply a city district." Dr. Chen nodded, but her expression remained focused. "This is just a small prototype. A full-scale processor should be able to supply the entire planet." "How many full-scale processors would we need?" Queen Zara asked. Dr. Park consulted his calculations. "Based on your population and the storm's current intensity, probably 12 processors placed strategically around the planet." "Can we build 12 processors in the time we have remaining?" Commander Vale wanted to know. Dr. Chen looked at Chief Scientist Nora. "How quickly can your manufacturing systems replicate a design once we provide specifications?" "If we use all our industrial facilities, we could complete 12 processors in 36 hours, Nora replied. "Then we have enough time," Captain Rodriguez said with relief. The next 36 hours transformed from desperate crisis management into the most intensive construction project in celestial history. Every manufacturing facility on the planet was converted to produce components for the biological atmospheric processors. Queen Zara divided her time between monitoring the construction progress and learning about the human approach to problem solving. She found herself fascinated by their willingness to accept uncertainty and adapt to changing conditions. "Captain Rodriguez," she said during one of their brief rest periods, "your people seem very comfortable with not knowing exactly how something will work before they try it." Captain Rodriguez smiled. "Your Majesty, on Earth we have a saying, the best way to learn how to solve a problem is to start solving it. But surely planning and analysis are important." "Of course they are," Dr. Park agreed. "But sometimes you can plan and analyze forever without finding an answer. Sometimes you have to build something and see how it behaves." Dr. Chen looked up from her workstation. "Your people are excellent at understanding how things should work in theory. Our people are good at figuring out how things actually work in practice. Together, we make a strong combination." Queen Zara realized that this was true. Her scientists provided the advanced technology and theoretical knowledge, while the humans provided the practical experience and adaptive thinking. Neither approach alone would have been sufficient, but together they were solving an impossible problem. As the processors neared completion, teams of human and celestial technicians worked together to install them at strategic locations around the planet. Queen Zara watched the installation process from the Crystal Tower, seeing cooperation between species that had never met before. Activation in 30 seconds, Finn announced from the communication center. Queen Zara held her breath as the countdown proceeded. If the processors failed, her people would have only hours of breathable air remaining. Activation now, Finn said. Across the planet, 12 biological atmospheric processors came online simultaneously. Within minutes, atmospheric readings began to improve. The storm continued to rage in space above them, but instead of consuming their life support systems, it was now feeding biological machines that converted its energy into breathable air. Your Majesty, Commander Vale announced, atmospheric quality in all sectors is returning to normal levels. Queen Zara felt tears in her eyes as she looked down at her city. Already, the lights were growing brighter as people emerged from emergency shelters. Children were playing in the streets again, and the air itself seemed cleaner and more refreshing. Dr. Chen, Dr. Park, Captain Rodriguez, she said, turning to the humans who had saved her people, how can we ever thank you? Captain Rodriguez looked surprised by the question. Your Majesty, you do not need to thank us. We helped because you needed help. But surely you require some form of compensation. Technology transfers. Trade agreements. Dr. Park shook his head. Your Majesty, the knowledge we have gained working with your people is more valuable than any technology. We have learned as much from you as you have from us. Queen Zara studied these remarkable beings. What will you do now? We will return to Earth and share what we have learned, Captain Rodriguez said. But we hope this will not be the last contact between our peoples. It will not be, Queen Zara promised. From this day forward, Earth will be considered a friend and ally of the Celestial Dominion. She paused, looking out at her recovering world. And we will remember that sometimes the greatest wisdom comes not from those who know the most, but from those who are willing to try new approaches when old ones fail. As the human ship prepared to depart, Queen Zara stood once more on the Crystal Tower platform. But now the air was clean and fresh, and the lights of her city shone brightly below. The cosmic storm still raged overhead, but it no longer threatened her people. Instead, it powered the living machines that kept them alive. She thought about the message she would send to the other civilizations of the galaxy, a message about the value of cooperation, the importance of asking for help, and the wisdom that could be found in unexpected places. Sometimes, she realized, the universe provided exactly what you needed, when you were brave enough to ask for it.